I will call the Paris Union High School District Board Special Board Meeting Workshop to order at 12:31 p.m. I'm going to ask for a roll call to determine a quorum. Trustee Campos. Trustee Hall. Trustee Stafford.
Here.
Trustee Anaya.
Here.
And myself, Trustee Garcia, present. We have established a quorum. Item 3.1, invitation to address the Board of Trustees on agendized items. Are there any public comments on agendized items?
No public comment.
Thank you. Item 4.1, District Capital Facilities Fund Update Presentation. Pardon me if I say your name wrong. Tarana?
Tarana Alam.
Thank you very much. Please come forward.
Good afternoon, Governing Board, Superintendent Cabinet, and audience members, consultants that are here. It's my pleasure to be in front of you today. I'm the Managing Director of Key Analytics. What our firm does is brings a lot of credibility to the financials. And the way we do that, we work directly with the district's financial system. We upload data directly from the district's bank accounts with the Riverside County Treasurer. So there is no deviation. It completely mirrors that. So we see every penny in and every penny out. In addition to that, we also are able to track other funds that are outside of the county. The district has some CFDs, Community Facility District bonds. We're able to track those from the bank side and track them in the same exact way. Also, the district has some additional funds with a local bank, the surplus. So all of these funding sources, so you're seeing all of the pieces of the puzzle instead of just seeing a single piece in isolation. And we provide credible information to you as the decision makers, to the Dr. Williams and her facilities and business department, so they can make decisions all from the same source. We also track all the projects because they go through the county financial system, and we're able to track project budgets, project timelines, project draw projections, so all of that, so we can provide information for everybody regarding what they need. So today, we've been hired by the district just a couple of months ago, and during this time, we went back and recreated the financial data from the district's financials going back 2 years. So we brought every penny forward. We also worked with the trustee bank, brought that data over. And here with Sochi, with district staff members, to compile all the information on measures Z and W that were completed, because the only account that currently has money is Measure T. So with that introduction, unless you guys have questions, please feel free to stop me at any time. I would like to start my brief presentation. So do I just click? The clicker. The clicker, right? Clicker works.
No.
Oh, that's right. Okay, perfect. All right, sounds good. So what I'm gonna go. Well, it's not working. Sorry. So page one, here it is. The executive summary. I'm gonna kind of go over these four or five major themes here. The district has made improvements of $352.1 million since 2004. That includes funds from Measure Z, W, and T, as well as that's the majority of the funding sources that are presented in this presentation. As of the date of this report, the district had $21.1 million of collective capital facility funds that are not currently obligated. There is a bigger balance, which I will show you. Part of that balance is obligated, but this $21.1 million remains. $100 million to $170 million, the district is eligible for potential state grants. That is modernization, new construction grants, and we'll go over how to access those funds. And $187 million potential GO bond extension, and $43.6 million in potential RDA revenue, developer fees, and potential additional CFD revenue. So it's a substantial program of about over 500 million and higher is what the district has.
Clicker should be good.
This one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And we'll go over in a little bit more detail on what those funding sources are and where they reside and where they came from. So just going into what we're going to go over first, which is the results of the 2004, 2012, and 2000 WGO bonds. Since you guys are going for a bond extension, it's really helpful to remind the taxpayers that are going to be voted on that all the great things the district did do. A lot of times the community sees a brand new school that is modernized, or they see a school that is built, or a gymnasium or a pool. They forget how that was built. So this presentation is kind of helpful to remind the community about what has been completed in this community since these bonds were approved. So Measure T was approved November 6th of 2012 in the amount of $53.4 million. 3 bond series were issued. On the left side, you see the pie chart. It shows the 3 bond series that were issued. The last bond series was issued in 2021, and so all of the funds have already been issued. There's a little balance remaining that I will review with you. Measure W was approved November 6th of 2018. It's a little older. That bond was for $148 million. It was issued in 1 series, and all of those funds are pretty much also spent. And the majority of these funds were to build like science labs, new schools, and serve the 3 major areas that the district is serving: Menifee, Nuevo, Paris, and Romoland. Yeah, I am not good at this clicker thing. Sorry about that. So, okay, no problem. Thank you. So, what schools or projects, major projects were completed in each area? So the Paris area, the Pennicott Middle School modernization, Paris High School building and pool modernization, the Paris High School agricultural facility, CTE, a 2-story building at the Paris High School, and a theater, middle school land acquisition and planning, and California Military Institute new gymnasium. What the community loves to see is pictures. So on the next couple of slides, we have pictures of these improved facilities, which look really beautiful, and they were completed with these bond funds. So the Paris High School agriculture facility building is in here. The California Military Institute gymnasium is in here, as you can see on page 7. And so these are just some of the pictures that I put in this presentation. There are a lot more, and the community would love to see these kind of things that have been completed. In the Menifee area, there was a brand new school built, the Liberty High School. Liberty High School pool, fencing, restrooms. Paloma Valley High School multipurpose room and admin, which is still in the process. There's some parts of it that are still in the process that will be completed next year. Paloma Valley High School pool and Heritage High School pool. So these are some of the major projects in the Menifee area. And you have some beautiful pictures of these facilities on the following 2 pages. 2 or 3 pages here. All right. So how did the district create equity between the 2 major areas that it serves, Menifee and Paris? As you can see, pretty equally. $176 million spent in the Paris area and $176 million spent in the Menifee area. So the district was a great steward of equally building and improving facilities in both areas. That's the $352 million balance that I shared with you in the executive summary in the beginning. Okay. What is the district's current financial position? So I'm going to talk about a little bit about the capital facility funding types and the current balances. Because the district, in my experience working with many districts, what the community wants to know is you're a good steward of their tax dollars and don't just rely on the tax dollars. You are augmenting those funds with other sources that you have access to. And this district is a great example of that because you've had a successful state program, as you know about the state program. Over the past 20 years, 30 years, the district has received $154 million in state grants. And as I shared with you in the beginning of the presentation, it has eligibility for a whole lot more state grants to receive. So it has a track record of applying for state grants and receiving state grants. So that's one of the sources. And the state grants can only be done if you have your match. So that is one of the funding sources the district has had access to, has been successful at, and has eligibility for. Developer fees is another one. That one is as a result of the residential impact of the residential new units being added, new facilities being built that are outside of the CFDs. You have access to that. You guys are collecting a substantial amount of money from the developer fees on an annual basis. So that's another source. It's usually a restricted funding source. You can't use it for everything, but you have access to that. RDA, you're one of the lucky districts that are part of the agreement before 2012. So you are getting a substantial amount of redevelopment agency funds on an annual basis. And then CFDs, you have some really robust CFDs from new residential units, and you're getting substantial amounts of money from that as well. So these are the different funding sources. So if the community is interested in knowing, is the bond the only one funding source you're using? The answer is no. We have access to all of these funding sources, and we're using them all. Okay. On slide 14, there is a capital facility fund balance summary. So what did the district have as of May 15th in its bank accounts? This is your net worth statement as of right now. The district had $17.8 million in collective CFD accounts. It had $10.5 million in Measure T. It had $9.8 million in developer fees, and it had $3.2 million in its redevelopment agency revenue. So that's a combined revenue of $41.3 million. Of this revenue, the district has some remaining projects to complete. Like I said, that NPR, some other minor projects that it needs to complete. I'm approximating a little bit higher, but it's about that. Plus, the district pays debt service out of the RDA and CFD revenue, which basically was leveraged to issue those COP payments. So I've deducted that, so you're not leaving every penny in, every penny out. After that, the district will still have $21.8 million. And that $21.8 million gives you a great seed money to start planning projects, especially those that could get state funding in the future or other critical projects that the voters would like to see. Any questions for me, or are we waiting until the end? Okay, perfect. So, state funding opportunities. I work with your consultant, King Consultants, so this is a collaborative presentation. I work with many of your consultants to get the data here. So on the state side, there are multiple types of state funding. There is state grant funding, the percentages of state grant funding, state eligibility, and the potential amounts the district is eligible for. Okay. On page 15, I'll briefly go over the major funding sources the district is eligible for. New construction, modernization, financial hardship, and there are some specialized programs. Menifee is one of the fastest growing areas, and while a lot of declining enrollment is happening and throughout the state of California, Menifee is growing, which means they're sending their kids to you next. So you are one of the few districts that has new construction eligibility, a substantial amount of it, and it is for building new schools to accommodate enrollment, classroom additions, support facilities, libraries, gyms, cafeterias, NPR. Modernization is basically for those schools that have not been touched in 20 or 25 years. So, in that one, also you have some eligibility for modernization, some eligibility for projects that are already completed, and some eligibility for new modernization when your projects become 20 or 25 years old based on their useful life of whether they're portables or permanent facilities. Facility hardship, financial hardship, that's usually for districts that can't come up with their match, so they get a higher percentage. I don't believe the district is eligible for financial hardship. Your balances have to be zero in order to be eligible for that. And there's some other specialized programs like CTE, which you have eligibility for. It's a competitive program. Charter school, you do have a charter school. And then seismic mitigation, that is when an earthquake or some catastrophic thing affects one of your facilities, you can access that.
Can you get us that information?
We will talk to your consultant, State and King's consultant. They can pursue that. If there is a facility, like for example, you're trying to modernize a school, when you dig in there, you see that it is not sound, and it's, modernization is not going to fix the problem. I have had districts be able to apply for that types of seismic mitigation upgrades and get money.
So we don't know that. I thought I heard you say we have a.
No. These are
Okay.
the types of state funding that is
pardon me.
available.
My
The types
apologies.
of it. Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
problem. Okay. So how do those percentages work? Depending on the status of the district and the facility and the grant funding that it applies for, the new construction is usually 50-50. But keep in mind, 50-50 according to the state's budget. The state will tell you a high school costs $50 million and I'll give you 25. The school costs $200 million. So, it's based on the grant units that you're eligible for. You're never going to get 100% of what you pay for, but you will get a good amount, and it's always helpful to apply for that. Modernization is 60-40 currently. They might change the rules, or 60 or 65%. That's pretty much standard. If a school is eligible for modernization, the state will give you 60%, you have to come up with 40%. But you're not going to get the 60% unless you have your 40%. Therefore, all of your other funding sources become very critical. In financial hardship, the one I mentioned, where you're eligible if you qualify for 100%. But it's a difficult program to get money from. Okay. State funding is not immediate. On page 17, I just have, it's not like you're eligible for $50 million and it comes rolling in. It's a lengthy process. It takes several years. You have to establish eligibility based on the criteria I talked about. You have new student impact, or you have modernization, or all that. You have to design the project. You have people like your architects that have to design the project according to DSA standards, Department of State Architect standards. You have to file a funding application. Your consultant, King consultant, have to file the application, answer all their questions. OPSC reviews it. It takes like 2 or 3 years to go through the review process to make sure it is an eligible project and it meets all their criteria. The district needs to show that it has its match. If your bond doesn't pass and you don't have your match, the state takes another district in front of you. There's got to be a state school bond availability. Us voters approved the bond in 2024 for over almost $10 billion, but all the modernization money is already called for. Every district in the state, LA Unified, Oakland, San Diego, the bigger ones being first, took it all. So it's a waiting game and staying in line in order to get that. So now, in your case, if you have eligibility, you have to wait for a 2028 state school bond to get approved by the voters. And if you're higher enough in line and do all the other things, you should be eligible to get it. There is still some new construction CTE money left that the district could try to access. And then the project apportionment, then the state, it takes a period of time. There's all kinds of deadlines and so forth, and then you get your apportionment. And that's how you've gotten that $153 million that I referred to earlier from past state school bonds. Okay? So on page 18, this information is from King Consultants. The district is eligible for $49 million in state new construction eligibility currently. And that is, like I mentioned, new construction is for to construct new classroom or related ancillary facilities. To demonstrate at the time of eligibility, at the time the state funds you, you have to show you have the enrollment. So let's say you apply today you have 1,000 student enrollment. 3 years from now, the state is ready to fund you, and your enrollment declined to 400 kids, by 400 kids. You don't get it based on the 1,000 kids. You get it based on the 400 kids. It's pretty awful, and I know districts that really apply for like a state, and they're all happy about it. And I'm going through the cash flow with them. I'm like, don't really count on it until you actually have it in the bag, because the new construction eligibility is not guaranteed. It's based on your enrollment at the time. The good news for you is you're in a fast-growing area, and hopefully you can keep your eligibility if you apply for this. Modernization is straightforward. That can only go up. Modernization, every year the state adjusts the grant amount, so you could be getting a little bit higher. So that one is a little bit more easier to get. So collectively, and then the district also has eligibility in the blue box for some charter school, $59 million. In CTE, it's highly competitive. So if your state consultant will share more information with you in future presentations as they apply of how you can access that. So that's on the state program. The next one is your GeoBond extension. And additional other funding sources all under this category. So the GeoBond extension, future state grant, RDA, CFD, and developer fees. So these are the other sources. And I'm going to go over a little bit into how much you're expected to get from other sources between now and June of 2031. Okay. The GeoBond, you've had presentations from Fieldman, your financial advisor, and they have provided you with all the information regarding what that tax extension means. My understanding is the potential bond extensions for $187 million for a bond that has gonna have its debt paid off, so you can use the same tax. And as you guys know, you can only leverage $30 per 100,000. Your tax cannot go above that based on the Prop 39 statutes. Therefore, you're not going to have the $187 all at once. It's going to be issued 3-4 series. This is the projection right now. If it gets approved in November, the first series will be issued in the amount of $4 million, March of next year, and then you have $45 million in 2029, $45 million in 2032, and $57 million in 2035. So these are the small amounts that are going to be issued, and they're not concrete. They could be changed, but any change affects the next series. So your financial advisor will provide you more detail regarding that. So this is the page that I really, really like, and that I want to share with you to give you some good news. That the district, I mentioned you have $21 million in the bank now after your projects are paid. So what this shows is by over the next 6 years, actually, 26, 27, 27, 28, 28, 29, 29, 30, 30, 31, 31, 32, beyond that. So how much are you expected to get? So I have the bond here for you. The potential extension, if it passes, you have $40 million in 26, 27, $45 million, then $102 million. So that will give you $187 million. Your developer fees, you collect about $2.5 million a year. So that is something that is there, and you're collecting it, and that's available towards your new construction match. RDA, the first one is 3.9. The reason for that is in my balance, the RDA also comes in June. The June balance was not included, so that's why it's a little bit higher for that first one. But your annual collection is about $2.7 million.
I probably should know this, but the developer fees, when do they drop off?
They don't. It depends on the buildings that are constructed in your area. Right now, there's a lot of construction activity. God forbid if there is a complete standstill and you are not getting, you're getting a little bit more. We're trying to be conservative here. But let's say everything comes to the standstill and you don't have any more new development, that amount goes down. But there's always a minor amount of developer fees in every area.
Okay.
So this, right now, the district has a lot of development coming in. So any development that's outside of the CFD, everybody has to pay, was it $2 per square foot or something? So if you add an extension to your house, whatever you're doing, that homeowner has to pay you developer fees as a, or
Oh, I see.
to the school district. So this is a statutory amount that they have to pay for either extending their schools or building new facilities or a new apartment building comes in, whatever. So right now, these are the projections. It could change if the economy goes completely down. It could go lower, but it's been stable. And right now, things, like I said, in this area are actually thriving. Okay.
Thank you.
The RDA is based on that agreement that I mentioned that the district already has in place. So this one, 2.7 million. So I took the amount from the last collect. It comes in June and in January. It's a pretty flexible source of funds, and I raised it by 2% a year. It's usually statutorily about 2 to 3% a year it goes up. So 17.8 million over this time period. State grants, as I mentioned, I have 59 million for modernization and 49 million for. We really pushed it way down. It could come sooner. If the state school bond is approved and the district is in a good place in line, it could come in sooner. But to be conservative, I pushed it out a little bit. And the good news about state funds is if you pass this bond extension and you complete the project now and you're in line, when the money comes in, it's a reimbursement. So you can use it for another project. And it's a lot more flexible when it's a reimbursement. CFD surplus. So you have the CFDs. Those CFDs on an annual basis generate about 1.8 million in addition to what they pay to pay the debt. So it's called surplus special tax. What that is, your consultants put in a tax to pay back the CFD bonds, but they always account for people not paying or foreclosures or whatever. So I spoke with your consultants in Copeland Gruber, and they told me there's about 1.8 million the district collects on an annual basis. It usually comes into the account about September, October. And that is available again for projects. And there are two types of CFDs. The CFDs that you issue, like a capital facilities, those are really restricted to the area. But the surplus is more flexible, but this money is available for new construction, things that are new construction related, not modernization related. And so, as you can see here, the district has 21 million. Based on this projection, if the bond passes, the district will get an additional 48.2 million in this fiscal year, coming fiscal year. So 48 plus 21. So we work with Dr. Williams on a cash flow, annual cash flow, to take all of these and then add all the projects that could be funded. So we are on an ongoing basis working with the district to do this roadmap, which I call a strategic cash flow roadmap, to identify which projects could be done with that, so it can get ready for the next bond and the next bond, issuance and so forth. But as you can see, the district will have a very healthy $338 million revenue based on the projections today, if the bond is passed, which will allow it to do projects. And now it's up to your consultants to tell you the way things are going in the state, in every school district, the needs are 3 times higher than the funding. And that is where prioritization of projects and setting expectations for the community become extremely important.
Sorry. I
Yeah.
have a question.
Sure.
Restrictions on.
Microphone.
On the money for, say, our charter school, are there going to be restrictions on how much can be used at the charter school? Are there rules in place that I don't know?
I think the charter school money needs to be used on the charter school.
Okay.
You have more flexibility with the modernization.
No, I mean more coming from us going to the charter school.
That would be a question for your state consultants.
Okay.
I do know that charter school funds are specific, and King's consultant will be able to answer that question in a lot more detail and what the district is eligible for. With the modernization and new construction funding, there's more flexibility.
That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. What percentage actually could we spend on them coming up and if the bond passes and all that?
On a charter school?
Yeah.
I'm sure you can use your new construction eligibility for the charter school if it's new things you're doing there.
Oh.
But it would be a question I defer to your state consultants.
Go ahead.
Of course. My presentation is done. I'll be happy. So, I'm sorry. Now, on page 22, I just have some final conclusions based on experience. The district has demonstrated, I believe, as I showed here, exceptional stewardship in using taxpayer funds to complete projects. As I highlighted, $352 million worth of project, which, gives you a good message to the voters about things that are done. So again, since 2004, $352 million worth of facility improvement. The district has an opportunity to secure more than $100 million in state grants by staying in line and having it matched. And the district has the ability to leverage $338 million in all these funding sources to complete lots of projects. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
My question, yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, I think we're on the same page here.
Well, no, I'm gonna switch over to something else, so if you want to.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I represent Area 2, which is the majorly senior area with some family units also. My concern has always been that I'd be remiss if I didn't say something about some relief for the seniors. And I don't know that this is the forum that you can answer that question, but I always ask it because it's going to land somewhere. And I don't see a plan being developed to exempt them, even if it's for a percentage of some of these bonds, to give them some relief. Now, actually, Area 2 doesn't have an existing structure in its school, but we're considered all Menifee, so we've heard of that. So for the seniors, is there ever any discussion about senior relief on continuing to raise the taxes?
So your financial advisor, a better person to answer those questions, but based on experience, what you're referring to is SFID, their area that you exclude from a bond measure.
Okay.
And that type of a thing is usually not very successful. Beaumont tried it, it didn't go very well. And also in your case, you're not a unified district, so your tax is not $60, and you're not doing a new tax. They are already paying the tax on your 2004 bonds, and that 2004 bond is going away. So you're not increasing it's my understanding, and please, refer to your financial advisor. A tax extension is typically an extension of a tax that the community is already paying for. The bonds are a lot more successful when they're district-wide unless you have an area where you're building a brand new school in a brand new development that is just for that development. Then you do an SFID, you put a circle around and say just that one area is going to pay this tax and everybody else is excluded. They're a lot more complicated and a lot less successful.
Yes, and I think I was talking about this a little earlier at lunch, and how the seniors get taxed out of their homes after a period of time. I see the same thing happening here that happened back east, which put the cities in great despair. No one seems to be sounding the alarm about the high tax rate, but it'll hit certain people first.
Of course. Or those people without kids that have no kids that are going to school.
What senior isn't a part of their grandkids and their college, and so we're footing the bill unrecognized. I mean, we don't need any recognition; we do it anyway. But it is cost. There is a cost, and that's trying to bring up our, future generations. So, okay, you gave me a little more than I knew before. So, thank you for that.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I mean, the extension is typically a tax they're already paying. So if they didn't extend it, they'll just not pay that $20, and now they're going to continue to pay it. So.
Well, we want to be able to give them both sides of the picture.
Yeah.
And that's just one side. Now, I'm for of course, the bond, and I support that, and I want to be able to honestly give them the answers that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think asking those questions of your financial advisor and all of that, my experience, I work with over 100 districts, is that SFIDs are not that easy. It creates a lot of confusion. there are districts that have tried to exclude the seniors, or they exclude neighborhoods that are fully built up and get nothing out of the bond. It's just been less successful.
Trustee Hall,
No. I'm good.
any more questions?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. It's a pleasure presenting in front of you.
Appreciate you.
Of course.
So,
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right.
One
good
second.
afternoon. Yeah.
Are you a part of her presentation, or are you part of business?
The next one.
He's the next
So he,
one.
oh, 4.2, okay, awesome. All right, moving on. Item 4.2, business. District-wide and campus project prioritization, pardon me, I'm having a tongue twister today. Anyway, and proposed project development. Dr. Williams? So it's him.
Yes,
Okay.
this is Buddy from DLR who's done the prior two meetings. It's a continuation.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, good afternoon.
Good
I'm
afternoon.
Buddy Gessel, architect with DLR Group. I also have Brian Leonard, architect and principal with DLR Group. He's going to help facilitate some of the activities that we have over the next couple hours with you. So look at how we'll break the time up. There's a lot jammed in here. We'll focus on 30 minutes of update, where we're at, what we've seen, and then we have 2 interactive activities that will work with you that will start to begin this discussion of your project list and your prioritization on how you want to allocate your projects and allocate some of the funds that were just outlined by Tirana. And so we'll run through reviewing the current FMP, just get you up to speed of what we've heard at the last couple of community meetings. We'll also take a look at the website, the digital master plan. I'll have a link for that with the password that you can log in and look at that as well. And then we'll touch on a little bit more of follow-up on the state funding and availability that Toronto was mentioning, and how important that is to leverage your local dollars and how that can really impact your program and allow you to really leverage your local dollars. Then we have 2 activities. The first one, we'll look at a ranking exercise of all the projects that have been identified, and we'll go over that. And then we'll dig deep into some project scenarios that'll take you through an activity that'll help you make the decisions that you need to make that are best for the school district. Okay, so moving into major findings. So as part of the facility master plan, we had a survey that was conducted, and we were seeing 3 trends from the campuses, with an emphasis on safety, security, and upgrades to the schools. Second priority was teaching spaces and classrooms, really a focus on academics and learning environments, specifically CTE and special education type spaces, science and modernization in general. And then different levels of improving drop-off and pickup and making the sites operate efficiently and safely for the students and parents. Just a few key stats that we're seeing. You have 63 portables in your district. Out of all the projects that we've looked at and we've worked with the M&O team, many who are here with us, we've taken a look at roofs and asphalt and painting and all of the components that keep your schools in good repair. And we've identified about $65 million of need, and we'll dive into that deeper here in just a minute as well. As Toronto mentioned, there's opportunity for $108 million of projected state matching funds, and we'll also look at that in just a minute as well. And then the projects that have been identified that will have total over $900 million. So that's where this exercise today will be important to help focus what projects you want to move forward with. It was mentioned your potential bonds for about $187 million. That's about 19% of the identified need. Not just need, but there are some wants on the list as well. And like Toronto was mentioning too, you do have some projected enrollment increases, which do bring you the new construction grants. You have the new developments, which bring new students, which brings you that additional funding to build these facilities for your communities. So you're projected a little over 800, almost 900 more students than you have today. Okay, so next I'm going to run through the master plans as they stand. I'm going to hand out, maybe Brian, you can hand these out. These will be helpful to reference as we move through the activities. But I just wanted to run through what we're seeing in the resultant master plans for each of the campuses at a real high level. A couple things to point out on these plans, if you see the legend in the upper right. Any of the red with the pink fill is a new building on these plans. Any of the color fills with the orange are minor modernizations, which involve painting and flooring and basic improvements. Anything in the blue is more of a heavy modernization. That'll be your older buildings, where there'll be a deeper modernization and renovation level required in regards to systems, maybe some reconfigurations and things. And all I want to do is kind of walk through some of the major projects that are identified, and I've broken out the project list on the left side of each of these pages. And just to make you more familiar with what is being proposed in these plans. And so we'll just run through them. So Heritage High School, I could point one here, I believe. There we go. So this back building back here, there is growth, additional students that are projected to attend Heritage and increase the enrollment. So there's a need for a 2-story classroom building to house those students, with the library, career center, and restrooms. So that's that project there. On this campus, there was always a pad here west of the gym to add that auxiliary gym. So a new auxiliary gym, as well as a new wrestling room over on this side here. And then on the back side of campus, over here, a new CT building with outdoor yards and such. And the last one I'll mention here is the stadium and field improvements, which is artificial turf, field lighting, scoreboards, and such. And actually one more, this infill in between the buildings. Oops. The infill in between the buildings is to reconfigure that single point of entry to make the entry into Heritage more secure for visitors and students as you come in, and to allow that to function a little more easily. And then there are several other projects listed, and we'll be taking a look at those as well, but I just want to give the high-level overview for each. So Liberty High School, you've already added some portables due to Liberty being at capacity. So the big focus at Liberty, being a newer school, is a new 2-story building, kind of back behind the Student Union building, where the students that have to be in the portables can now be in a permanent 2-story building. And you can house all the students equally in equal type facilities. And that frees up space for some additional parking as well. And the addition of solar, as you don't have solar on this campus, and then some of the stadium and field improvements as well at Liberty. Liberty's a newer school, so there's not quite as much need at this campus. Paloma Valley High School, your oldest fully comprehensive high school, so significant need. You've invested heavily in Paloma Valley, but there's still a lot of work to do there. And so really looking at your older 1-story classroom buildings, replacing those one by one with 2-story structures, allowing you to free up space for quad and common space to really create the campus center as well. Looking at potentially in this area, by consolidating those 1-story classrooms, it frees up an area to construct a new performing arts center that would be equal to Paris and Liberty as well. And then same with some of the field improvements, with artificial turf, restrooms, field lighting, and such. Paris High School, a significant investment made on this campus as well, but there are still some additional needs here. First is the science building, or classroom building as well, that houses your SPED programs. Probably the second oldest building on campus now behind the gym. So investing in the modernization of that facility to upgrade the science classrooms, as well as reconfigure the special ed classrooms so that they're properly sized and function well for the students and have all the amenities that they need as far as access to restrooms and life skills spaces and such. And then focusing on the gym building. So that's the oldest building on campus, one of the originals. So looking at the modernization of the gym building, as well as reconfiguring the gym lobby to accommodate and concessions and tickets and renovate your restrooms as well. And again, stadium and field improvements, like the prior couple of schools as well, including field lighting, track, scoreboards, and extending the practice field as well. You do own this parcel across the street, which is Panther Park, so improvements to Panther Park are listed here as well. And then even with all the new buildings, there's still a need for restrooms on this campus to get them in the right location so students have access to those. Shifting to CMI, these buildings, these classroom buildings that you have at CMI are some of the very oldest that you still have on inventory. So the proposed projects here look at demolishing all those old 1950s, 40s classroom buildings and replacing it with a newer state-of-the-art two-story structure, so it frees up space on campus. So that'd be the new building. Providing a new stadium, track, artificial turf, lighting, concessions, restrooms, stadium, all the amenities of a stadium at CMI with locker rooms, dressing rooms, and such. The potential of a performing arts center adjacent to the gym, and then the rebuild of the admin and library, and the rebuild of the NPR kitchen, as well as reconfiguration of parking and the addition of solar on this campus as well. Paris Lake High School, these are probably in par with CMI. These buildings on the southern end of the site as far as age, and then the rest of the campus is currently in portables. So this is looking at a new two-story classroom building on the south end of campus. And then on the north end is a new locker room, weight room, gym pavilion. And then back on the south end is the CTE programs, classrooms that'll house those programs. You do have adult ed on this campus, so reconstructing those few classrooms. And then the renovation of the admin student union building. And then the potential for a new NPR lunch shelter that activates this northern portion of the site with the PE gym pavilion, your lunch shelter, and your outdoor campus commons on this one.
I'm just looking at this picture, and what about parking? Have we looked at that? Because just looking at the picture, it doesn't look sufficient.
Yeah, the parking isn't proposed to be modified in this plan. We can definitely look at accommodating that. In all the sessions that we've met on campus, we met with the principal and some administrators. We met with M&O. We had community members as well, and honestly, the parking never came up. What we are proposing, at least to add parking, but we absolutely can look at that.
Well, no
No problem.
I understand. I'm using property, not looking at the park
Right.
attached to it, and I understand we could probably utilize that and get away with it. I was just,
So the good news is the district does own a good portion of that park. So if we did need to shift the new buildings over, parking could easily be accommodated. The one great thing though that we did look at was I was there right when the students got out at the end of the day, 3 o'clock, and it was busy. And so one of the things we proposed with these blue lines, you actually do have a driveway coming out on that far southeast corner.
Mhm.
So we proposed with the master plan to reconfigure that drop off so that it could actually work a little bit better. But that can absolutely be taken into consideration.
I have a question.
Another question, yes.
You mentioned we have an interest in Rotary Park, right?
In which park? This one here?
The one with Paris Lake. that backs up
At
to
Paris Lake, yes.
I've heard that many years in the past, but I've never seen it confirmed in print anywhere.
On the property line piece?
Yes.
Yeah, we were working through that.
Okay.
I don't think we got the final lot line.
Rotary Park.
Rotary Park.
That part of that was what you just said, but we've had facilities inventories, and I've never seen that included. So, just wondering how much or what.
So we tried to stay within the bounds that you have. If we'd have to do further investigation to get that you might have an answer.
I don't know if you have a laser pointer, but can you show me where our property lines on that part, where it ends?
Yeah. So can you see my white cursor?
Yes. Yes.
So right now, we were trying to stay within the bounds of the current lot line, which is this black line that runs north-south here.
Mhm.
Just because even if you do own a portion of this park, then it means reconstructing a softball field or moving a field or negotiating that with the community as well. So we try to work within the means. It doesn't mean that if you do own a portion of the park that you'd be able to extend into that, and then you just rework the disruption
Well,
of the park.
that's my question. What do we own on that part? Is it?
Does it go out further?
Does it go up further? Is it up, down? What do we own and
Right.
what does the city own?
That's what we need to verify.
Okay. And when you do, can you let us know?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, two more. So pathways for your adult life skills. You're in existing buildings here, so the idea here is providing shade structure over the hardcourt area, really creating a center, a campus for assembly space, some path of travel improvements. We have students with needs on this campus where they do have to get down ramps and such to get down to this area, so improvements on your path of travel for ADA, some additional shade, as well as renovating the single point of entry on this campus as well, not constructing a new building, but just renovating, reconfiguring the life skills space, adding some additional restrooms, and then minor modernization and reconfiguration of the admin as well.
And the prices that you're projecting right here, is that through contractors? And here's the other question. I know we've discussed a little bit about it, but now we're in a formal setting. Couldn't some of our maintenance and operation teams do the shade and the concrete work and save us some money?
It's absolutely potential to answer your first question. The numbers that you see here are total project costs. So that will include your construction costs, your hard construction costs that you pay a contractor, and then it includes a 28% soft cost budget on top of that. So that covers your plan check fees, agency fees, inspections, all the fees that you might have associated with the project. If there's furniture, equipment that you need to purchase as part of that. It's assuming a 3% per year escalation factor, and it's just for baseline purposes for the activity that we'll do today. I'll show you how you can flex those numbers in just a minute here to change them to be what you want them to be. But it assumes the midpoint, starting these projects about 3 years from now.
Got it.
Your second question, as far as work that the district can perform, you absolutely can. There are some projects that still will require you to submit to the Division of the State Architect, depending upon if they're access, fire, life safety, or structural type projects. If you perform the work, they still have to be inspected by an inspector of record, but you can self-perform that work as well.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, and the last one is Pinacati Middle School. Also, one of your newer campuses, you do have several portables in here. So the top project here that was identified was a new one-story classroom building to be able to remove those portables. A new track and field on this northwest corner, as well as some smaller modernizations throughout the campus for their admin library. There's some shelving, some flooring, as well as looking at the renovation of the gym for a wood floor in the gym. And then probably their biggest one was to expand the shade and the hard courts on this southern end of campus to allow for more lunchtime activities to occur. Okay, I know that was a whirlwind getting through things, but questions, go ahead.
I was just at Pennicotty recently, and we established there's a fencing issue on the, what would that be, the west side
Yes,
of the campus that backs up to all the homes.
that's correct.
They're able to come over those fences either way as well. Just looking ahead, I don't see it here on the,
So it is identified, if you flip to the Pennicotty, there's a note in the upper left, this note up here, which is to upgrade the gate and perimeter fencing.
okay,
And then down on the bottom left, there's an upgrade, that southern fencing to 8 feet. There was a stretch of fencing, I believe, that was like maybe 6 feet tall. So that red line across the bottom is to upgrade that fencing to 8 feet.
okay.
So we did.
So I see it in the small little, note there, but it's not in the major list.
Right, the major list is just, I'm just hitting the highlights,
Okay.
and then we'll get into some of the deeper stuff here in a second.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing I want to walk through, let me see how we're doing on time. Okay, just speed up a little bit. Okay, so those are the master plans, and what I want to show now is the digital website that can be made available to the public after we review all this. I have in the presentation here, if you want to go to it on your laptops, you can, but it's PUHSDplan.org, and then right now this is the password for that. I'm going to do just a really quick tour of what's on the website. It's a lot of the same information that we just covered, but I just want to show you how the website works and what type of information is on there. Okay, so if we come over to the website, it's broken up into 3 basic areas. You have about the master plan, you have my school, so the Find My School page, and then there's a summary of data that's required for us to collect and document for the OPSC and Prop 2 matching funds for applications that we'll need this for. So every 5 years, the districts are now required to update their master plans, and that allows you to tap into the modernization and the new construction funding from the state. So if we go into the About here, it will take you into this. It has the video. I'm not going to play the video. If you haven't seen it yet, please come in here and take a look. Great video about the program and all the great things that you're doing here in the district, and a little bit about the process and the master plan itself. The meat of this, though, is in the Find My School. So when you come into this page, a map of the district will pull up. It'll have all your schools and the different boundaries. So if you click on Heritage High School, download. There is a short video here that you can watch. I won't play it. It's about 2 minutes long, and it walks you through what's on here and how to use the master plan. There's a lot of information on here, and it can become overwhelming. The master plan that we just looked at here is the first tab. So all the projects that we were looking at are identified per the prints that you have. There's a scenario builder within this. So we've taken all those projects and we started to identify the various projects within the master plan, and you can take a look and work through these, and the numbers and the values that you were just mentioning, you can adjust these. So if you wanted to change your contingency to be 12%, the probable cost is changing in real time here. So if I drag escalation down, it's changing in real time, or your years to construction shifts. So you can adjust those sliders. You can click on each of the projects. So say, for example, you only wanted to do the campus-wide security upgrades here, fencing, PA, fire alarm, and such. You can build out project scenarios. And then you can also hold down control and add in, say you really wanted to modernize the restrooms, do those AVA upgrades. You can see it starts to build a scenario for a project, campus by campus. So please take some time through there. All the projects are loaded in. In some cases, certain projects require several projects, right? Say, for example, you're going to build a new classroom building. So we need to demolish the portables, take them off. There's some site improvements, so there might be multiple projects within a project. But in some cases, you can do some of the sub-projects on their own and build the scenarios. Oops. All these maps are zoomable, so you can zoom in and read the text and pan around. It's pretty intuitive and easy to use. The rest of this has, I'm going to jump back to the summary page, but at a campus level, it'll have all of this data, the utilization of your campus, what the enrollment trends look like for the next 5 years out, what type of funding is available at a campus by campus level, your student demographics and needs in regards to socioeconomic disadvantaged students, students with disabilities, English learners, homeless and foster students. Sometimes that helps you prioritize which projects you might need at a certain campus ahead of another. And then we have the maintenance and deferred maintenance type projects as far as what years you need to look at roofing and lighting and flooring and such. And it breaks it out year by year for the different types of deferred maintenance. And then this is a Prop 2 OPSC requirement, but a space utilization. We've gone in and done takeoffs of all your spaces in regards to the type of space, quantities in regards to admin, gyms, science rooms, science labs, food services, classrooms, and such. So every campus has every building documented as far as what you have in regards to portables, numbers of classrooms, the year built, year modified, and such. And then the survey results that I was mentioning. So that's the campus level. That is a ton of information that I'm throwing at you. If we go back here to the summary, this is where a lot of the data lives in regards to the survey that I was mentioning. So if you wanted to come in and see what was being said by your community, so you can see the number of participants, which projects were most important to the survey respondents, and you can take a look at this like campus by campus or district wide as well, simply just by clicking on the campuses, and it'll kind of walk you through what that survey looks like. This is your, I won't go through all these, I'll just give you a real quick general overview so you can come back into this and spend some time with it. But we look at campus utilization, your deferred maintenance plan for district-wide, not just campus-wide, your district-wide student demographics, your enrollment trends, district-wide again, what you're seeing, the state matching funds, which I'm going to touch on this further, your new construction and district eligibility for that, and then the district-wide space inventory schedule as well. So there's a wealth of information in here. We could probably spend another 2 or 3 hours just going through it all, but it's really important information that establishes that baseline level of information that you'll need to make these decisions.
So I love the charts that you have here, and then on the website how it changes the dollar amount. Now, one question: when it changes the dollar amount, when we're talking about construction, does it display the actual? Well, I know it doesn't display, but when the price changes, is it the actual cost of the material?
Yeah.
Are we current with the price check?
Let me go back and just click on one, and I'll show you how that works. Let's go back in here.
That sounded refreshing.
Yeah.
Sorry. You're okay.
It's a great question. It's very important to get it right. So let's go down to this 2-story building. So it's $47 million in total probable cost. And if we start here at the top, it's $35 million for construction. And then we're going to take it down. $10 million in soft, $3 million in escalation, and $3 million in contingency to come up with that 47.8. That's the number that you'll see on the master plans and the numbers that we'll use for the activities. It's total cost. If you think your soft costs can be less, those can be adjusted down. And then the sliders, you'll see here, if I adjust the contingency and I just go up to 14, you see that contingency, it flexed to 6 million, and this flexed up to 51 million. So it's all in real time, and it's all levels of the project cost.
Thank you, I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Very, very important to understand that. So thanks for asking. Okay, so let's see. So that's the website. Please, we can make this public once the board has seen this and you've reviewed the information. The password can be taken off so that it can be fully transparent like we've discussed at several of the community meetings. Okay, let's see. Let's jump back into this. Okay, so quickly, I want to get to the activity here soon. So we have plenty of time on this, but it's important to understand the available funding, adding on to what was being discussed earlier. So just starting on the left here, we have the 187 million of potential bond. I have, we'll pass these other charts out here in a second, but we have the 65 million of deferred maintenance. Now you can elect to do none of that, or you can do some of that. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then the state funding of 108 million with 59 million for your mod funding and your 49 million in new construction, giving us, let's say, a scenario of 230 million. Now we heard there's RDAs, there's CFDs, you have some money in the bank, and then there's some pending potential additional state funding that might come available for the charter school funding and the CT funding. So even though we show 230 million here, maybe that's 330 million. Maybe some of the money comes down the line and you don't have it all today. So that dollar amount will flex. The important thing though is leveraging your dollars with state funding. And it was mentioned that you have to have your local match to tap into that state money. And you want to get in line. You know, the money might be gone for now, but it's over and over again, the state passes bonds. So you want to get in line, even if your funding might come 3, 4, 5 years from now. Really important. And it'll play into the prioritization of projects. What I mean by that is you might want to consider projects that have potential state funding. You do those earlier. So you can submit for state funding, you do the projects fully funded through the bond, you get in line, and when the funding is reimbursed, then that money comes back into your program and you can do another project. What I've identified here are basically a few tiers of projects. So tier 1 is your new construction and potential state funding. So that's looking at projects that can tap into and can unlock your new construction match. Those examples would be like the new building at Heritage, where you have students coming above your current enrollment and you need classroom space. That type of project could be funded with a new construction grant. Same with Liberty High School. It's at capacity, you have more students coming, you have new construction dollars that can pay for those structures. Tier 2 would be your modernization funding. So projects that, as was mentioned, that come of age, so your permanent buildings that are 25 years or older, and you have many that are coming of age here soon. And so looking at developing projects that can not only modernize those buildings, but then can leverage that 60-40 match with the state. You will have some projects that will fall into Tier 3 that will only be able to be locally bond funded. Those might be stadiums, PACs that don't have CT programs, M&O buildings, park improvements. They still might be important projects, but maybe you might want to consider maybe pushing those a little further down in your program because you can't tap into the state match. Sometimes those projects are important to bring up front. You'll have to determine that. But it's important to understand how to really leverage that state funding and how to time that, because it can really augment your program and what you can do. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. Any questions before we kind of move on?
Just for the record, I'd like to say a couple of things.
Yes.
On your Tier 3, local bond only, kind of explain when you say local bond, what do you mean there?
These would be projects that the state wouldn't provide state matching funds on. So it wouldn't qualify for a new construction grant for a growth project, or it won't qualify for a modernization type project.
So that's not really what I'm asking.
Okay.
How can a Tier 3 M&O buildings be at the bottom of the list when they support the entire district?
So this isn't saying that being on the bottom is least important in any means.
Tier.
It's just showing examples of types of projects that you wouldn't be able to receive state funding on. Those could be maybe some of the most important projects that you identify, and you would fund them 100% with your local bond.
Okay, so that local bond still confusing me. What ballot does that come on?
So the local bond would be your potential measure, the $187 million of the extended tax extension.
I just feel like it looks here as though we've put something that's important to me, and I believe to the entire district at the bottom of the list.
So tying right into the next activity.
Okay, good.
This is going to be great.
You got it.
Any other questions before we move into the two activities? Good. That's a great segue, because now we move into ranking of projects and talking about prioritization and building scenarios. And so we have a couple of activities, but the challenge is here, with the limited funds that you have, even if you can tap into all those state dollars, you still have to work on balancing your deferred maintenance, how you will prioritize these legacy projects that will have impact to your students, to your communities. And the bigger challenge that you have is how do you equally invest into your two communities, the Paris community and your Menifee community. So really looking at how can you select a set of projects that creates that impact, but also has that parity between your two communities. And with that, we're going to hand these out. This will just be this first activity. I'm going to walk through a few slides, and then I'll introduce the activity. And this will just be, there won't be a share out. This is just an internal exercise for you just to start to think about which projects are most important. So if that M&O building at whatever campus is like really important, you're gonna work through this in the next 15 minutes to start to think about that. Before we dive into that though, I want to go over the deferred maintenance. So I had thrown up the $65 million number. On the first page of the handout, it outlines by category all of the different deferred maintenance projects. And again, these are total project cost as well. So there's HVAC improvements, there's fire alarms, security camera upgrades, PA upgrades, painting, interior and exterior on certain campuses, roof replacements, flooring replacements, slurry of asphalt, and such. And I look at this as, this is like the maintenance on your car. If you don't do the oil changes and you don't change the tires, you're going to end up replacing the whole car.
I agree.
So that's why if I go back up to where I have the real high level available funding, I took the $187 million potential bond and I knocked the $65 million off the top, assuming you want to do all the maintenance to keep all your assets that you've already invested millions of dollars of capital improvements on, to keep these buildings in good repair that allow them to work and function for your students every day. The lights are turning on, the air conditioning works, the parking lots aren't cracking and falling apart. And so that list here is your deferred maintenance for all sites. That's been identified. Will there be more need down the line? Potentially, but this is what we know today in working with the M&O team and walking all the campuses. So the rest of these I have broken out by campus on the next 3 pages that you have. And it has the project, the campus name, and the cost of the projects. And then you have the maps as well that we went over at a high level. It does include a few more projects that are the smaller to mid-size that I didn't touch on. But what I'd like to do is just take the next 15 minutes or so to think about what's most important as far as starting to rank these projects. And don't think about budget yet. Let's just think about what type of educational impact would this type of project have on campus? Does it support teaching and learning? What does it improve the student experience in regards to safety, comfort, well-being? Would this project create student opportunities in regards to new CTE programs? Is there a community benefit? How do you gain some momentum with maybe community members that don't have students? Or maybe they're students that graduated. Or maybe they have grandkids that will attend the school. And then really thinking about that long-term value and that lasting impact that you can have with any of these improvements. And so if you guys could just take 15 minutes, run through the list, and this will help guide the next activity. If you don't get through them all, that's okay. If you have any questions, Brian and I can...
God bless you.
Brian and I can help answer any questions. I'm just going to set a timer for about 15 minutes, and there won't be necessarily a share out of this component. It's just your own internal worksheets.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to take a 15-minute recess to do the task that you've provided. So at 2 o'clock, we'll come back.
Thank you.
Thank you. It will be a. You have a question, Mr. Stafford?
I want to ask Brian something.
Okay, so,
I missed something.
Oh, we'll hold off on that then.
Yeah, we can be in the process, and I can answer the question.
Okay, so we'll be adjourned, or excuse me, correction, you're on break from 1:46 till 2 p.m. The time is 2:02 and we are reconvening. So carry on, please.
Excellent. So, thanks for going through the rankings. You probably didn't get through them all, but I would hope that you started to see some trends as far as what you might think is important to you, to your community, to the students that are in these schools. And having gone through that exercise internally, it'll really help set yourselves up for this next activity. And so I'm going to walk through an intro of this next activity, and then we're going to set aside 40 minutes for you to work independently. Brian and I will be available to help you. There's a digital dashboard that will have a URL for you to get on. I'm going to walk you through how to use that. And then we're going to save 20 minutes for share out and discussion and questions at the end as well. Okay, so jumping back into the presentation here. So this next activity focuses on project prioritization. And so what we're going to do, we've developed a live dashboard that you can access either by typing in this URL that you see on the screen here. It's best, it looks like you all have laptops. It works best on your laptop so you can really see everything. It does work on a phone as well. And then as we work through these scenarios, I'll walk through the dashboard here in just a second, but as we work through the scenarios, you can save them off. It's called a JSON file. You can save, can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay. So up in the dashboard, you can hit this save scenario once you make your adjustments, and you can run multiple scenarios, right? But if you save them off before you start changing or start a new one, I can pull them up on screen if we want to look at something together as we work through these. Okay. And so what this dashboard does, I'm just going to jump over to the actual live dashboard, but it's going to allow you to select projects and make tangible trade-offs between communities so that you have that parity, and you can focus on which projects you really want to focus this future bond on, potentially on. Okay? So you'll be able to add a project, take a project off. If you're over budget, you can take a project off, add one on. If one community has more projects, you can adjust those. So with that, I'm just going to jump into the actual. Well, I guess first, was everyone able to enter the URL? We can come around after we're done with the intro and get you set up too.
Okay. I couldn't get it.
So we'll work with you on that. So when you pull this up on your devices, we'll start in this upper left box. These are preset. So I've entered in the 187 million in potential bond. If that changes for some reason, you can come in and you can adjust that up and down or just type in a new number. I've entered in the deferred maintenance at the 65.3 million. Oops. I forgot this is a touchscreen. And so the deferred maintenance, there's tabs across the top here you'll see. Deferred maintenance, flagship projects, and a summary. Okay. So the deferred maintenance lists every single deferred maintenance project that was on the prior list.
Yes.
It lists it by campus. It also lists it by community. And it also lists the tier of potential funding that's available for some of these and the cost. As we keep working down this box in the upper left, we have the modernization state match of 59 million, which you can see here. And then we have the 49 million in the state match for new construction. We also have a couple of contingent fundings that are currently turned off. But if you want to run a scenario where, hey, the state funding, there's 59 million potential. If you want to run a scenario assuming you're going to receive that, you could turn that on and you can see the available funds change to 288. So if I turn that off, it's back down to the 229.
That contingent funding for the charter school is also in matching funds, or is?
Those are, so again, King Consulting will come on and work direct with the district on exactly how the charter school funding works, but that money has to be spent at the charter school.
And we have an application in for a charter.
We already applied, right?
Yes.
That's
it is
correct.
matching funds.
It's matching funds.
Yes.
It's matching, and I had, they let us know it's pending probably August of this year, that you'll receive notice if that's been accepted.
We went before the board about this weeks ago.
Perfect. This other one here, it's smaller, but it's your CTE funding. So anytime you bring on a new CTE program, there is potential funding. It's scored and ranked as well. It's not an automatic given. If you turn this on as well, it'll add an additional $3 million per project, assuming maybe you have 2 programs, $1.5 million each. So if you select a program, a flagship building that has CTE, it'll add that additional funding into the scenario.
Dr. Williams, did we apply for this for the construction, the new pathway at Heritage
No,
High
we
School?
have not.
Okay, because this would be great. We need to make some modifications to
Okay.
get the construction pathway.
Yeah, that would be a different application process.
Okay.
So as we scroll down this, and right now I have certain projects selected in this kind of intro demo. And so what this is showing is the 65.3 million is your deferred maintenance. So it's flagship projects and deferred maintenance. So right now there are no other projects selected. The remaining available is the 229.7. As you select projects, it'll add dollar amounts into the 3 tiers that we looked at as far as state matching funds for modernization, new construction, and maybe local only. Down here you'll notice in this lower left box, it will calculate in real time the community parity. So right now, just with the deferred maintenance, there's 39.4 million in Menifee improvements and 25.9 in Paris improvements. So it's real important to watch that box flex so that you don't get out of alignment. So now the tabs across the top here, you have the deferred maintenance. Now these you can say, hey, HVAC is not very important, we're not going to do any of that. You could turn it all off. But we know that that's probably the most important, so leave it. You can turn off individual projects within these as well, just by clicking on the slider. Okay? So that's your deferred maintenance. It's defaulted to all be included. This next tab is your flagship projects. So it's everything that was on the list of the exercise that you just went through. So you could look at this as project by project, like, hey, I want to do this new 2-story building, or I want to do all the work at a campus and it'll turn on all the scopes of work at a certain campus. And so as you go through this, let's say we turn pathways on and we turn all of Pinacati on. So as we work through this, it'll be updating the dashboard and the allocation of the community parity and the funding and the allocation of the funds as well. Okay. And then the last tab will be your summary. So as we work through the scenarios, it'll give you the potential funding and the summaries for available funds, the projects that have been selected, and your total project spend. Before we jump into this, I just wanted to share a few scenarios to think about on how to approach this, because it's an in-depth exercise. So I'm just going to run through like 3 hypothetical scenarios. I just selected some projects. This isn't anything that's being proposed. It's just for illustrative purposes.
I hate to say this, but
So scenario 1 is the balanced district-wide investment. And so what I did, I went down the flagship list and I selected some of the kind of marquee projects so that you get a sizable project and you invest at every one of your school campuses. So it lists all the projects on the right. I was also trying to balance the Menifee and the Paris community to get them as close to equal as possible. So you can see here it's 148.8 to 147.2, including the deferred maintenance, and then the remaining dollars on that project. So just an idea of an approach that you could take in the scenario builder to create that balanced district-wide investment. Okay. The next scenario looked at, and again, some of these are just based on conversations that we had in the community meetings. So this one focuses on investing on your two, let's say, oldest campuses. So you focus a lot of the dollars on CMI and a lot of the dollars on Paloma. And so I selected the bulk of the projects from those two campuses, and you can start to see what happens with that. There's an imbalance between the parity between the Menifee and Paris communities. And second, it doesn't leave a lot of dollars to do any more work at any of the other schools. This third one came from a conversation at one of the community meetings where you have the land for a new middle school, so you could construct a new middle school, and there is a new middle school project on the dashboard that we were just looking at. So you could run this scenario as well. You could build a new middle school, and then you can convert Pinacati into CMI, and then you'd have surplus property of CMI, and then you wouldn't invest in all those old buildings at CMI. But you can see here that gobbles up the bulk of your funding. There's a large imbalance between the Paris and the Menifee community, and small remaining dollars remaining for any projects at any of the other campuses as well. So that's the type of thinking that you want to approach the scenarios with as you start to think about which projects you want to prioritize for your district and community. And with that, I'll go back to this. Any questions on the dashboard? We can help you get set up if you weren't able to get the URL to work. And we're available to help kind of walk through that. And we're going to take about 40 minutes. See how we're doing on time. Let's see, I want to save at least 15 to 20 minutes to have discussion. Okay, so we'll start with 30 minutes to work independently and see where we're at. And then if we have time to share, ask questions, we can do that for the last 15 minutes.
I have a question real quick for Dr. Williams. You had mentioned CMI having like a grant for them for building that we would have to go half and half. Is that part of this money or is that separate?
So what we would get from the state would be that portion, and we would need to have to determine how we're going to fund the second portion, which is the requirement for CMI. So we could take out a loan, which CMI would be responsible for paying back. So that's the option. The state would give, say, whatever their side of it, their 50%, and then the other 50% could be a loan to CMI that they would be responsible for.
So if in this, when we're looking at these numbers and it says for like, for example, the CMI relocation, it would be half of that cost for us, including that grant, or if we're looking at this as an actual number?
So the way that grant would work, so under the contingent funding, there's this slider that I turned to green here. You would turn that slider on,
Okay.
and it increased the available funds to $288.7 million. So you could select an additional $59 million of projects at CMI to spend those funds. If, say for some reason the state doesn't award that funding application, then you'd have $229 million to spend to allocate district-wide. So it gives you the scenario if you want to be optimistic that you receive the funding or not.
And just keep in mind that grant is for that particular site.
Only.
So the scenario buddy sharing is something totally different. So the application is for building of additional classrooms on that particular campus as of right now.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, can you speak a minute more about this question? Menifee is doing a middle school. Who's doing a middle school?
Are we still in session?
Oh,
Yes.
Can we still ask the question?
Okay, sorry.
okay.
Let's keep going to recess and then.
No. So we're still in session until.
Well, he thought I was asking about this, but I'm asking a question about the other districts and their possible building of a middle school and what impact that would have on us. I don't know that that's for this though, so.
No, I'm not aware of,
Okay.
of how the neighboring district's middle school would impact your decision.
They just built a middle school right near my house behind La Ladera Park. And I hear that somebody's looking to build another one.
So this middle school is based on the middle school students that attend Paris Union High School
And
District
within our boundaries.
within your boundary.
Okay, because I consider CMI a middle school too, right?
It is a charter school that houses some middle school plus elementary and high school.
Yeah,
So various levels.
okay.
But the new middle school would just be for the district boundaries for Paris Union.
Oh, I see.
So I actually
State
work
your
a
name,
lot-
please.
This is Brian Leonard with TLR Group.
Thank you.
So I do a lot of work with Menifee Union School District. A lot of their planned growth is actually towards the Liberty High School area because that whole region is being developed. So they're planning new elementary schools, and I think in the distant future they do have plans for the middle school. For middle school, potentially, I think they've been studying a bunch of different sites, but one of them is just north of their new Sally Roussel Elementary School in that location, which is about a quarter mile or half mile to the west of Liberty High School. So it's generally in that region. I'm not aware of any other middle school plans that they have, and I think most of those plans are tentative. But I'd encourage you to reach out to their facility team if you guys would like to have more connections and to talk about their plans and their growth.
Okay.
Thank you. Any more questions so we could go on our break to do our assignment? Okay, thank you. The time is 2:18 and we're taking, you said, a 30-minute break?
Yes.
Okay. We'll be back. Thank you.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the time is 2:49 and we're back in session.
Thank you. All right, so the balance of our time today, we want to hear some of your observations in going through some of the scenarios and have a discussion so that the bond project list can be further developed with Dr. Williams and the consultant working on that with the district as well. So we'll open that up for first observations of having gone through and run through some of the different scenarios based upon the available funding and maybe even some of the scenarios that we looked at.
Okay, repeat that please.
Yes, no problem. So the last portion of this, we want to discuss observations in going through some of the scenarios. Some of the scenarios that we looked at prior to the activity would be helpful. And then have a conversation so that we can, the district can move forward with generating a project list that will start to develop and influence what the bond language will include. And so you don't have to define dollar amounts today, but you want to think about a direction of where you want to take your program so that it can leave you some flexibility in the future.
Okay, I have a question related, but not necessarily on the topic. So whatever we do today, we have to make some type of decision today, because correct me if I'm wrong, by next month we have to have it on the agenda, correct?
July 7th, yes.
Okay.
It'll come back as a resolution.
So we have to get something accomplished today to understand what direction we're going, right? Because if not, we're having special board meetings until we get to that. Okay, just want to be on that page.
That's correct. So we need some direction so that the consultant working up the bond language can get a draft put together so that that can be reviewed.
I knew you. If you want to ask a question, please. So that's why I asked that. I want to make sure everybody understood.
That we have to do within just a little
I felt the same way.
Crazy.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm sorry. There's no way to make a solid.
No. Direction. We'll still have
Exactly.
options because remember, correct. Maybe you can translate that for me better, because we have to be able to present something to the community, but we're still in the planning.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Did I say that wrong?
No, that's correct. So what we want to, the takeaway is to have a direction of the types of improvements that you want. You'll have flexibility based upon the language, so you won't get down to the level of a very detailed project specific item today, because that's impossible.
Right, okay.
So you wouldn't be looking at, oh, I'm doing a $1.8 million project on this campus. But you want to give yourself some flexibility to do certain types of projects at the campuses. If it's new classroom buildings, if it's safety security enhancements, whatever that is, that's the level that we want to get to today, so that you have flexibility to implement those projects. Because even, your bond programs, we saw the bonds are going to sell over the next 10 years. Well, you'll be faced with different challenges even 5 years from today than what you're facing today. So you have to have flexibility in your project list to allow you to implement the things that you need to implement 5 years from now. But you do know you have enrollment growth. That's why it was important to go over all the facts and summarize all of the findings that we're seeing, because you do have enrollment growth. You have campuses that are impacted. So you might want to consider, like, how do you address some of your most relevant and highest needs as you start to think about what types of projects you want to include.
Do we have access to this website throughout this time? Like, or is it just today?
Yes.
When you say, now it's being said we have enrollment growth, but the last official thing that I was told is we were at declining enrollment.
So if you go into the website that we showed,
Mhm.
it has the 5-year projections. Those have been updated. Those show the growth. It also shows the growth at your high schools, at Heritage, at Liberty, and you can go in and verify that data.
Oh.
That's why having all that information consolidated onto a website gives you the information that you need to make those decisions.
Okay.
And you'll have access to this too, right? What we saved?
So those JSON files you'll have to send to Dr. Williams.
I'm gonna need you again.
Okay. So any of those scenarios can be shared out, and then we can consolidate those as
Yeah.
well. And then you will have access to the website that we looked at. If you need the hyperlink again for that, we can make sure you have that. The password will be taken off today. Now
Yes.
Oh,
okay. And then you'll have access to the HTML file as well.
so what exactly do you need from us today?
Great question.
So
Mr. Campos.
just to see if I kind of understand what's going on. So, I mean, in general, it seems like I think the majority of us would give everything a thumbs up. But there are a couple of options in terms of like, so for example, the direction on the CMI Pinnacotta situation. I think based on what I've seen, the conversion is probably the smartest, best way to go. But I know that there's bond funding stuff that kind of goes with that. So is that kind of like where we're kind of headed? Like, I mean, everything, I think for the most part, we're, but there's a couple question marks on a couple pieces that are intermingled. You know what I mean?
That's correct. Go ahead.
Again, Brian Lund with Dealer. When we think about structured decision making, like what you're actually being asked to decide on, the main decision that you're working towards is a bond language resolution, which will be generic in its scope, which will be reflective of polling, and it won't be specific necessarily to any campus even. The benefit to this exercise is it allows you, who are political members and representatives of your community, to test those assumptions with the reality of projects that you will be faced with over the next 10 years. And so what's beneficial is as you start to get into these details, it's a snapshot for you for what you will be facing over the next 10 years. And so if there are adjustments to the language or things of that nature, that's what this exercise is really meant to inform, so that by the time you get to voting on that language, you can have confidence. Yes, that's what we're going to be held up to. That's our rubric. for moving forward. As far as like approving a project list, this is down the road. We don't have to make decisions on these projects, and as Buddy mentioned before, you will change it. Even if you create a first draft of the plan, it will change. Does that help with the decision-making process?
I mean, we're just trying to secure the funding and to make
Correct.
sure that all things being said, this is what the costs are, these are your options, but at the end of the day, this is what we're gonna spend, and all the other stuff can shift on
Yes.
how we spend it.
And the benefit today is after you've gone through this exercise, if you can share general trends of what you see as being most important for you, it might inform and confirm some of the language discussions that they're having. So that's where you can start to say, hey, after interacting with this, here's some observations that I have, and here's some preferences that I have, and that will influence your team.
The language though is important to give you that flexibility because you can only spend your bond money on projects that are identified on your project list.
Say that one more time.
So you have to give yourself enough flexibility in your project list because you can only spend bond dollars on projects that ultimately end up on your project list. Because that's what you've committed to your communities to spend those dollars on. So
So
you know,
like,
if you want to do
so like safety in
maintenance,
classrooms and restrooms and the needs of
Correct.
lighting. And okay, got it.
that gives you the flexibility to do that.
Should we put that in the other, at the very bottom, other upgrades?
So I think what you would look at is the upkeep and the maintenance type projects is a given. Because I heard, you know.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
The 65 million, you're talking about the
Oh,
deferred payment.
65 million. Yeah.
That's gone no matter what.
Right,
In the determinate time.
but not in the money we're talking about.
So
that's our, so,
that's correct.
okay.
So Dr. Williams was sharing, so this would be an example. And this was used for some polling. So the language would, in this case, would say repair and upgrade classrooms, science labs, career tech facilities, school facilities that support college and career readiness in math, science, engineering, arts, skilled trades. Construct and acquire classroom facilities to avoid overcrowding. So that could include potential new campus, it could include new buildings, you don't have to pick which buildings, right? And improve school safety and security systems and or any other items. But that's like one example. Of, and that shows the flexibility that gives you so that when you come back and decide to move forward with projects, you need to work within the framework of that language.
Absolutely.
And then we know layering on the importance of the parity between the two communities as well.
I do want to say thank you because I do notice the conversion portion on here because that shows you were listening to us and our concerns as well. That, I think that's very important, so thank you. Any other questions, you guys?
You know, I had one that just escaped me for a minute. It'll come back.
Oh, I'm gonna close, that's why.
Oh,
It's just a workshop.
Go ahead and ask. Yeah, because we have to go to the next one.
yeah, well, and I guess, I don't know if the question's ultimately for him or Serene, but, so I guess the only thing that I would like more affirmative on, and it's not gonna hold anything up, it just, for other things down the road, the property at Paris Lake High School and what is ours, what is not, who owns, you know, does the city own that park? Do they not, do we, that one, and then just to clarify, so in reality, on the new middle school, which is set at 141, I mean, realistically, that's another bond. Because that's gonna be a whole new construction, so, I mean, that one should be eliminated, because there's no way, with the money we have, to do whatever we wanna do, to even consider that, and we don't even know where those kids are at this moment in time. But that's just looking out, okay, just so I understand.
That's a
okay.
good observation. That does tie up a significant amount of your project list based
Sure
upon
does.
the available funding that you would potentially have today. It's a great observation.
All right, so on that note, do I have a motion to adjourn the special board meeting workshop for June 17, 2026?
So moved. Second.
Did I hear Trustee Holland and Trustee Campos? Any more discussion? See none, please vote. Thank you, and we are adjourned at 3:02 p.m. Oh, wait. The results didn't come in. Sorry, I jumped it. Steve, we're waiting for your vote.
Oh, sorry.
I was like, everybody got excited. But in the meantime, thank you everyone for everything, all your input, your hard work. We appreciate you. Okay. Upon the vote being taken on item 5.1 adjournment, it is 5-0 vote. And we are adjourned at 3:02 p.m.